Hi, this is Tom Malloy. Okay, today we're asking the question, how do you determine if a product needs studio backing? And now I get this a lot. I'll be talking to people about their project and we'll get to a point and I'll say, well, you need to go through a studio for this type of project. And the first kind of indicator of that is budget. If you're talking about a budget that's 10 million and up, guaranteed you got to go to a studio. And there used to be, going back like maybe early 2000s or so, there was a space that sometimes movies could be made in the independent realm for that budget and they could pick up a distributor afterwards. Nowadays, it is probably impossible unless somehow you had some huge A-list stars attached. If you're even talking about a movie, I would say even 4 million and up, probably should have some type of studio backing at first, or at least some type of negative pickup deal. Negative pickup deal being a deal where when the film is completed, someone has already said prior to you even shooting the film that when it's completed, they're going to give you X amount of dollars. So the first thing you want to look for is what is the budget of the film. The second thing you want to look for would be the scope, right? If it's something where you feel that you can't get it done on an independent level, whereas, again, budgetary, or when I say scope, I mean maybe locations, takes place in Yankee Stadium or something like that, and there's no other way you could do it, you kind of got to look and go, all right, that's something that really shouldn't be done as an independent film. You see, what the overall theme of this video is that years ago, when there was a DVD market, and then even prior to that, a VHS market, and you had German pre-sales and things like that, in the kind of earlier days of independent film from like the 80s on up, there were ways to create films in that budget range and sell them off afterwards. And really what we're talking about is creating it on spec. If you're doing an independent film, creating it on spec and then looking for a distributor or studio to pick it up afterwards. Nowadays, it's much more difficult. There was always this kind of hole, so to speak, between you had the independent films up to a certain level, and then you had the big hole, and then you had the studio level films, right? And so the independent films used to go between maybe say 2 million on the low end all the way up to say 12 million on the high end, and then after that you needed a studio. But the key is, and now the studio movies at that time were 80 million and up. And now that hole is even bigger. Like the big studio movies are 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, and up. And everything else is gotten lower, right? So I would say nowadays it is very tough without even, like a major A-list star to make films 3 million and up at an independent spec level. I've seen it happen. I've had friends do it. Make a movie for $5 million, have medium stars, not A-list stars, and make $100,000 on that movie. So that's the mistake. I would say anything where you're into that, like I said, 3 million and up level, that's where you have to approach a studio first and get that financing and secure it that way. Anything kind of below that, if you're, again, it relies so much on genre and cast and scope of the movie, how many characters and how many locations, is it an action film, all that stuff, it kind of formulates the calculation. So there's no steadfast rule. But what I would just say is that at the end of the day, it does come down to the budget that you want for the movie. If you want to do that studio level project, that budget has shifted. And I would say nowadays, any project that once you're surpassing that 3 million, you're going to $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million, you should have a studio behind you no matter what.